What's up, everybody? It is I, Tevin El Chapo, friends call me Chop, and we are back with another episode of Chop Logic. Yes, thank you so much for joining us yet again. Another episode of this wonderful podcast, that was fully here based on the support of people like you. So thank you so much for coming back. We want to keep these episodes going as much as possible. And we also want to make sure they're preserving these episodes as much as possible. Like I said that because that's actually the topic of today's episode: preserving and archiving video content. All right. So when you're preserving and archiving video content, it's always super important to know where you're keeping it and to know how to keep it preserved as much as possible. For instance, you should probably have like some hard drives. Maybe I would start there. Hard drives should be the first thing you invest in when it comes to archiving your footage, archiving your projects, anything and everything, right? And you also need to keep more than one hard drive, as in a backup, all right? Because you never know what happens to one hard drive. It's great to have it on two. So having a good backup of things is always going to be a great way to guarantee that you're always archiving your footage. And, some of the things too, just in terms of the importance of archiving is, for one, you always want to keep records of everything that you're doing, right? So archiving your footage and archiving your edits, your projects, your deliverables, everything is a great way to go back to it for whatever the purpose may be. You may have a client 2 years from now be like, hey, you remember that stuff we shot 2 years ago? Can you send me the footage real quick? I'm trying to repurpose it, but you didn't archive it. So now you just like, dang, I ain't even got that joint no more. I can't do nothing with it. I don't know what to tell you. You looking crazy, right? So, always just keeping a good record of things. You never know what you have to repurpose, what you have to come back to, what may be helpful in the future, what you may have to show to someone else for future business, or just things just to have for the sake of your own liability. So, we had conversations about legalities and things of that nature. Sometimes you have to prove your location. You know what I mean? Like, hey, if unsolved mysteries come up and they say like, hey man, your pit bull went missing. Where we at last night? Where was you at about 6 months ago? I'm like, man, I was doing this shoot, but you ain't archived the footage. So now it's like, I ain't got no proof that I was there for real. You feel what I'm saying? That's just a real loose leaf example, right? But ideally, you want to make sure that you are archiving everything that you do as much as possible, that you're keeping copies of everything that you do, that you're preserving everything as long as possible, right? Between hard drives, between cloud services, between, having other people have access to the footage as well, whatever the case may be. Right. So, the most analog way of doing it is literally just keeping it on a hard drive. It's 2025. Ain't nobody gonna put it on no DVD or no VHS or no CD or none of that. Right. So keeping things on a hard drive or keeping things on a computer, or honestly keeping them on multiple places. Right. So if it's on a computer, also have it on a hard drive, also have it on a cloud-based service. Right. So depending on just how big your videography business is or how big the files are will dictate what type of things will work best for you. Honestly, I would strictly keep things on hard drives and cloud-based preserving on archiving versus doing everything strictly on keeping it on a computer. I would not tell you to keep everything on a computer when it comes to archiving your footage, mainly because it slows your computer down after a while. All right. If you have too many videos, especially when it becomes bigger files, you're going to have way too many problems with your computer being slow, with your computer not having enough space. So any new projects that come up, you won't have any real ability to do anything with it. So it's a lot of things like that you kind of got to keep in mind when it comes to preserving. So that's why I say having an external hard drive that you can plug and play whenever you need to go back to the old archived footage is the best way to guarantee that you can keep up with it without slowing down your current workflow for the current things that you have going on as well too, right? So that's something to kind of just keep in consideration. Also, when it comes to cloud-based services, there's a lot of different places. The two biggest ones, of course, are going to be Google Drive and Dropbox, all right? Personally, I use Google Drive for everything, all right? I back up every single thing I do in Google Drive. All right. Google Drive is going to see this episode before you do. You feel what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like guaranteeing that space, especially depending on how much storage that you pay for, because it is a monthly based service when you're doing any cloud based service. Preserving that space is a lot easier for me on Google Drive. I know certain people like Dropbox and the different capabilities and all that. I don't particularly care to use it. I don't really like it. Again, Google already integrates into a lot of other things that I already do anyway. So it only makes sense that I use it as my cloud based service as well. Same with stuff on your phone, right? If you have an iPhone, you got iCloud, something else I don't particularly use. But you also just really want to make sure that, again, you're saving your stuff on multiple places. All right. So you can have something, if something's living on the cloud, make sure it lives on a physical space too, and vice versa. Make sure you have more than one physical space, in case. So in terms of certain like hard drives and things of that nature, you want to be very mindful when it comes to hard drives too. So when it comes to hard drives and archiving video content, the biggest things is just having enough space to fully archive everything that you're shooting, right? So you don't want to necessarily rely on anything that is low in storage, like something that's less than a terabyte. I wouldn't necessarily trust that. And then also anything that can be relatively cheap. All right. Unfortunately, when it comes to physical storage, i.e. external hard drives, the best ones are not going to be the cheap ones. You feel what I'm saying? And you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're archiving vital footage for vital projects on a cheap hard drive. The same way you don't want to be archiving it on a cheap memory card or even recording on cheap memory cards, because it's just a lot of room for failure, and it can just really create a lot of flaws in the future for you as well. So you don't want to put yourself in a lot of crazy positions by doing stuff like that. So that's why I say, like, just paying for a premium service, like a cloud-based service, and paying for premium hard drives will be your best bet. And also, to be fair, premium hard drives do fail too from time to time. Unfortunately, that's just the life we live. So again, having it on multiple hard drives is always going to be crucial. So that's kind of just pretty much the whole thing when it comes to archiving. You just got to understand just how important it is to be able to archive, and, just being able to keep everything together, and also just keeping everything organized, right? So even if you have archives based on the year, based on what type of project it may have been, maybe even just a hard drive dedicated, or a couple hard drives dedicated to one or two specific projects that were happening around the same time that were adjacent to each other, you want to keep organized so everything is easier to find. Also, when it comes to archiving the footage, you also want to label it. So not even just like the footage itself, but the hard drives. I have a label maker at home. I bought it off Amazon. The joint was probably like $20. All right. And you just create a sticker label and you put it on everything. I put it on all my batteries, and I put them all on my hard drives as well, so that I know exactly what am I archiving, what is this for, what was on it, what kind of things could have been on it, what time frame was I using this for, right? So those are a lot of the things you want to consider as well, like keeping organized as much as possible, keeping backups of things as much as possible, and things of that nature, right? So you kind of want to just keep in mind a lot of those things. The more that you do, the more that you'll need some type of like archiving system in place. So, there's also places like pix.io that you can use to archive your footage as well. Frame.io also kind of does it, but that's mainly like previewing for clients and stuff like that. Like I said, the two biggest ones and two easiest ones to use are either going to be Google Drive or Dropbox. And depending on who you are, it's really going to depend on which one you prefer. I just prefer Google Drive because Google integrates with practically everything under the sun anyway. And like I said, it's super simple for, even that most average person to use. Depending on like how much space you want to pay for, you also want to keep that in mind too. So there's a certain amount of space that you can pay for up until like an enterprise account. And then once you get to an enterprise account, you can have multiple users. So if you needed different accounts, and it will give you significantly more storage than if you were paying monthly just for like a certain amount of storage, if that makes sense. But again, that also really just depends on like how much you're shooting, how big are the files? Are you compressing the files? Are you keeping the raws? Or, what else? Are you keeping the project files as well? So you kind of just want to keep these things in mind. when it comes to just archiving your footage and just being able to withhold it. Now, the future of archiving is, looking relatively bright, but at the end of the day, it's all amounting to some type of cloud-based storage. All right. Even if AI is organizing the footage for you, you will still need it to be stored somewhere. Right. So I'm not necessarily seeing I'm not seeing anything specifically drastic in terms of like the growth possibilities of archiving your footage anywhere. A lot of the time, a lot of these things are pretty much going to boil down to the same places, the same locations. Like I said, depending on whether you want to keep it with Apple, keep it with Google, keep it with Dropbox, keep it with Pix.io. These are a lot of places where you can archive things. One other place, well, a few different places, I guess I would say. A few other places that you can archive your footage or archive your videos that people don't think about as well is social media, like YouTube or Instagram. These are places where you can post videos on accounts. You can make them visible on YouTube specifically. You can have them unlisted where nobody sees them or has access to them but you, or you can have like an Instagram account that's locked off that nobody can follow, and you can just upload as many things as you want onto these pages, right? Now, at the end of the day, as long as these platforms live on, this content will exist, but you also got to keep in mind that they only exist in compressed forms. So if you're shooting in 4K and you upload something to Instagram, it's only going to be the highest resolution is 1080. So when you try to download it by whatever means you need to, which is another issue with using social media for stuff like that, is that downloading these things aren't super straightforward off social media versus, a Google Drive or a Dropbox. But if you were to download it, you will essentially be getting a lesser grade version. It's a little bit different on YouTube, which is why I would suggest if you have to use something like that, go to YouTube first and foremost, even if it is vertical videos, because essentially what you can do is you can upload a 4K video on YouTube unlisted and nobody will see it but you. And then if you need to download it, you can just use like a YouTube downloader, things of that nature. But at the same time, using YouTube downloaders, again, most of them aren't going to allow you to download in 4K, unless you're paying for a YouTube downloader, which is more than likely from a third party. So that's a lot of, flim flam and things of that nature to kind of say. So I was just told that you actually can download things that you do upload. I'm testing it right now. So you can, without a downloader on YouTube specifically, you can go and you can basically download anything that you've uploaded to the space. So let me go to my YouTube studio. I'm just going to look at it really fast. Go to my content. Let's see. Yep. And download. Yep. Even more reason to use YouTube. All right. So essentially YouTube is a great place, you know what I'm saying? And it's free. You know what I'm saying? As long as you're not posting anything that, breaks their guidelines, you can definitely upload as many videos as you want in 4K if you need to. And then whenever you need to download it, you can just straight up download it. These are just great outlets for that. And, again, another great thing to do in terms of archiving your footage. But no matter where you do it, at the end of the day, to close this part out, I just want to say the biggest thing is making sure that you, again, have copies of your footage at all times. All right. You want to make sure that you can get to these copies easily. You know what I mean? It's not somewhere hard to find, that you got to keep it encrypted somewhere that you'll forget about it easily. And that if you do need to pull from it at any moment, it's right there for you, whether it's physically on a drive, whether you have a backup of it on another drive, or you have backups of it on another drive and on the cloud and on YouTube. Ideally, you can do all of them for the exact same footage. Keep it on one drive that you work out of, keep it on another drive as a backup, keep it on the cloud in case you need another backup, in case the drives fail, keep it on YouTube in case Google decides to revolt. You know what I'm saying? You have access to all these things. So these are probably the best ways to preserve and archive your video content. And, these are just the ways that I use, so definitely just make sure that you're archiving things as much as possible, and make sure that you're always keeping a backup of these things too. So that's it for me. We're going to go to break. And when we come back from break, time for that trivia. You know what I'm saying? Let's get it. This video is sponsored by Chop House Media Group. Now listen, podcasting is hard, all right? There's a lot of moving parts to a successful podcast, whether it be the shooting side, the post-production side, the audio mixing and mastering. Just having the right strategy and know how to even get this podcast in the right places and getting it into the right positions to get monetized. And that is where Chop House Media Group helps out at. We have coined the phrase, the podcast in the box, where we pretty much facilitate anything and everything that you need to run a successful podcast, between the production, the post-production, the strategy, and tips and tricks that you need to be 1,000% successful in every single aspect of your podcasting career. Now, if you are interested in being a part of this and making sure that you get your podcast to the next level, whether you are just now starting out your podcast or you are already in the podcasting field but want to take it to another level, be sure to hit the link below and schedule your free consultation with us to make sure that we get your podcast up and going further than you can ever imagine. All right, again, thank you to Chop House Media Group for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the show. And we're back. All right, so laptop is closed. You already know what time it be. Time for that trivia. And if you don't know, this is how it goes. So I usually have my producer Tevin here. Unfortunately, he cannot make it, but I do have my good brother Jason right behind the camera. Jason, say what's up one time, please, and thank you.
What's good?
All right, what's he going to do is he's going to ask 3 questions related on the current topic of this episode. Now, if I get 2 of the 3 questions incorrect, I have to give you, yes, you, the audience member, a cash prize. And how you can win a cash prize is by being subscribed to the YouTube channel, liking this video, and comment below your favorite episode. And one of the commenters will be randomly selected for the cash prize. But that is if I get the questions wrong. I do not make the questions. I do not see the questions beforehand. So it's always fun time. So let's get it.
All right. The first question is, which file format is generally preferred for long-term video archiving due to its lossless quality? Is it A,
Cooked. All right, let's go.
MP4? Is it B? So it has a format and then it also has the codec. MP4 or H.264. MOV, ProRes 422 HQ. Or is it AVI? Or is it MKV?
MKV? Mortal Kombat 5?
Yikes.
I'm going to go A, MP4.
That is incorrect.
What was the answer?
Answer is B, MOV ProRes 422.
What was the question?
Which format is generally preferred for long-term video archiving due to its lossless quality?
Lossless. Okay.
Yeah. So generally MP4 is or H.264 is lossy.
Lost, yeah. I didn't remember the lossless part. All right.
All right, my brother.
All right.
2 more.
I feel okay. All right.
Lock in.
All right. I gotta use my good ears on these questions because I didn't hear that last part. All right, let's go.
Which of the following best describes the 3-2-1 backup rule used by professional creatives? Is it A, 3 projects, 2 copies, 1 editor? B, 3 backups, 2 on the cloud, 1 on RAID? C, 3 total copies, 2 local on different devices and 1 off-site? Or is it C? I mean, not C. Is it D, 3 years, 2 formats, 1 external drive?
C.
3 total copies, 2 local on different devices and 1 off-site. That's your final answer?
Yes.
That is correct.
Oh, boy. You almost had me, boy. I was about to say, that's crazy if it's not.
That is, yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so that kind of circles back to, I didn't phrase it like that, but that's literally what I was saying. So having an initial place for it, having a backup, a physical backup of it, and then having it on a cloud. So that's 3 points of archiving. But yeah, scared me a little bit.
All right. Why might H.264 not be an ideal codec for archiving master copies of video? Is it A, it's too high quality for most projects? B, it's proprietary and uneditable? C, it's a lossy codec, meaning data is permanently discarded during compression? Or D, it doesn't support audio tracks?
It's C. We just had that in the first one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah, I gave that one away.
Yeah.
Slick. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I mean,
I know you knew it, but
yeah,
still.
it was like, yeah. And once I had gotten it wrong and figured out how it was phrased and why I got it wrong, it was automatically.
Yeah, I wanted you to lose your money, but it's all good.
All right. Well, yeah. The biggest thing from this episode, of course, make sure that you archive your footage, preferably in more than 2 spaces. All right. So thank you so much for joining today. It's another episode of Chop Logic. We're going to go ahead and get up out of here. I got some archiving to do on what we're shooting right now. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more episodes like this. Even if you didn't win anything on this particular episode, that's perfectly fine. Just go back to the previous episodes. You know, I don't get questions right every episode, you know, contrary to popular belief. But yeah, definitely subscribe to the channel for more episodes like this video. Still let us know what was your favorite moment or what did you learn, or even just some of your best practices for archiving your footage. Let us know in the comments below too. And until next time, wish you the best. Peace.